So, of course, we have to address COVID-19, which is affecting everyone right now. And how has that affected the real estate market? Well, okay, so in April and May, it was a very unprecedented time, causing market irregularities. I'm sure many of you know that in Toronto, we kind of just see nonstop. The market keeps going up and up and up and up. And then in April and May, this is when we saw prices just drop dramatically, kind of wiping out the gains almost that we made over the previous year. And to a lot of people, this was concerning. But I will talk more about how in June this kind of has changed the outlook. So again, in April and May, the listings had decreased dramatically. You can imagine that a lot of people that were looking to sell their house purposely put it on pause because they didn't want random people walking into their house. Possibly they had COVID-19 and they wouldn't want people touching, all the doorknobs, going to the bedrooms and whatnot. So the listings just went down like crazy. So the seller side was kind of really hit. And then on the buyer side, people were just nervous. They didn't really want to buy because they're uncertain of where the market was heading. The stock market had gone down earlier. I think it was in March, April, and then real estate. People were very uncertain about that as well. And thus the price had dropped due to less demand. There's massive unemployment, so you can imagine that really affects real estate demand. Less immigration, less international students. And then another really big thing was that Airbnb was banned in Toronto, and all other short-term rentals. So essentially what had happened was a bunch of these short-term rentals or Airbnb buildings had converted to long-term rentals, which kind of caused a shock in the supply system, and then subsequently dropped the rental prices. And then that was where my initial presentation was that in a really weird spot. And then June happened, the June statistics came out, and basically, we're back where we were before. The number of sales, the number of listings, and the resale prices are now even higher than they were pre-COVID. Airbnb, short-term rentals, now allowed again in Toronto. So, but I would take this with a grain of salt because even though they're allowed, a lot of people aren't staying at Airbnbs because international travel has become quite limited and people have to quarantine. So, people coming to Canada and renting Airbnbs, demand's still not there. So this one doesn't really affect it as much. But I think the biggest thing is that, as you may have heard, the Fed has dropped the interest rates. Canada has dropped their interest rates as well. And this has become sort of like rocket fuel for buying properties, investing in the stock markets. And what you see now is just everything is now going back up. People are having bidding wars on properties again, and we're exactly kind of back to where we were before. So I brought up a couple of charts, which are I'll try to simplify it as much as possible. One sec. I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen just to see if anyone has questions. Okay, no questions so far. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so these are directly from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. I didn't make these charts up, so you can actually see some data on the market that's been going on. I put these arrows here, so you can kind of refer to the orange, which is 2020, and you can see what the new listings have been like. So new sellers on the market for the past few months. So we started in March. In March, we had around 15,000 new listings. Then COVID hit in the later half of March. And then in April, you can see this is dramatically wiped down to around, like, let's call it 6,000 listings, new listings. May, you had to pick up a bit, rise up to almost 10,000 listings. And then in June, now like it has exceeded the March amount of listings, up over around 16 or 17,000, 17,000. So you might think, okay, well, a lot of people are selling their property now, but does that mean the price has gone up? So if we look at the second chart, we see the sales has followed, again, a very similar trajectory. You had March, you had a lot of sales. In April, it tanked. May, it rose. And then June, now again, we're even higher than in March. I think this chart might be the easiest for everyone to understand. This is the average resale home price. So again, we have referred to the orange bars. In March, we had around 900,000 as the average resale price. Saw a crazy 10% drop in prices going into April. And then prices recovered in May to 850. And then now in June, we have now exceeded pre-COVID prices, now going around like 910,000, 920,000 average resale home price. So, you know, a lot of people say that the real estate market is a lagging indicator behind the stock market, and it seems to have followed suit because you had the stock market go down, and then the real estate market went down, and then the stock market went up, and now it's, you know, at some unprecedented, some new highs, and then now you have that with real estate as well, kind of following behind, with the prices rebounding sharply. So I won't talk too much more about the market because we could have a very lengthy conversation about where it's headed. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on kind of where it's at right now. Because if you wanted to buy last month, I would have told you, oh, there's so many good deals out. You can kind of like lowball people and get amazing prices. And then that's sort of changed now, and kind of it's gone back to where it has before. Yeah.